Hello. How's it going, everybody? It's me. That guy right there. What's going on? Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I just finished watching. Maybe we'll start doing a weekly shout out video as well too. Because I just finished watching. Jared Osborne has a video up where he's looking at random magazines from his shelf. Highly recommended checking that out. A lot of really fun, unusual magazines in there. One of the things he mentions that is you don't see a lot of indie magazines anymore, and it's really true. And I sort of miss it. Like I've got 1 or 2 or 6 or 8 magazine boxes here, and there's a lot of indie magazines in there because I'm like him. I pick them up all the time, and even to this day, when I see them when I'm hunting, if I find some, if it says Fantagraphics on it and I don't already have it, I automatically pick them up. I just grab them. Drawn and Quarterly, automatically pick them up. Anything that I don't recognize that looks mildly interesting by the cover, I'll give them a shot. So highly recommended you check out that video. If you're not subscribed to Jared Osborne, sub him up, as well, as the kids say. He does a weekly show on Howler Mouse's channel. And I'm blanking on the name, and none of the guys are here in the chat at the moment. But they do a weekly show most of the time on Tim's channel, and then every once in a while when Tim can't make it, they'll do it on Jared Osborne's channel. It doesn't hit the best time slot for me. It's Friday, right around my dinner time, and people coming home from work and people coming home from daycare and school, and so it doesn't always work out for me. But Jared has some great stuff up there on his page. So a couple of things I thought we'd talk about. The books that I read this week. I didn't have a chance to stay the entire time on Sunday. I'm dealing with a comic collection for a friend of the family. And I've been in absolute, honestly, I've been in kind of bliss. I've been kind of heaven about it. It really is just like in having my own mini comic shop here in the house. The family is away for a few days. They went out of province to visit. They went out of province to visit, and they're going to come back in a few days here, and then they'll have to isolate at grandma's house for 2 weeks, because that's the rules coming into Manitoba. So while they've been gone, I figured this would be a great time to tackle the collection. I have the place to myself. The upstairs, there's comics on the dining room table. There's comics on the little side, the office table that we have there. There's comics in the living room on the floor. There's comics in the dining room on the floor. Like it's in different piles and different boxes. I've made $2 bins so far, and they're all long boxes, 2 long boxes of sets. So I put together some sets. If there was a mini series, threw it in a set. I'm going to be renting a table this weekend at the local flea market, so I won't be around for the chat this weekend either. Just to kind of, once I get myself through all the books, which I'm getting pretty darn close now, then I can set up and just kind of sell them. I've been doing auctions online too with the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, and that's been enormously successful. So I don't know if any of the comic addicts watch this channel or not. But if you do and you bought from me, I really, really appreciate it. It helped incredibly. One of the reasons why I kind of offered my help for this is that when you're selling a collection, we all know how that tends to go. You have a collection of books. In this case, it was around 3,500, 3,500-ish. You're looking at maybe 10 cents a book if you're lucky, 20 cents a book if you're really lucky. You know what I mean? If someone's going to take a collection off your hands, they're going to pay you not very much. So what I wanted to do was, I didn't want to see that happen. It's one of the things of, I know a bunch of people in the Winnipeg comic community. I'm part of the Facebook groups. I've done auctions on eBay. I've done auctions on the Facebook groups, etc. I've sold to people locally. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to really try to maximize the value of the collection. Not that everything that I'm selling is I'm selling it at like new mint condition or anything, or buy the book. I'm still giving a bit of a discount on sets that I've sold so far. And then the auctions, I'm just letting them go. There was the first auction that I did. I started pretty much everything at $1 and just let the market decide, the local Winnipeg market, and things skyrocketed, and it went really, really well, which was fantastic. Because at the end of the day, the majority of this is going to this friend of ours as kind of like a gift from her husband's collection, which kind of makes me emotional thinking about it a little bit. I just think that it's a really good thing. So I'm super appreciative of everybody in Winnipeg right now who's kind of taken the time and bought things, and just kind of, I've struck up some new friendships with people locally, or at least gotten to know some new people, which has also been really fantastic. Because we just have a really great city. I was mentioning it to Damien on the show on Sunday that he kind of knows what it's like in Portland. He's met some of the local kind of comic people. It's just really nice when you can kind of meet some people in your town and kind of hang out with them face to face when we could hang out face to face, have these conversations with them and share kind of an interest, just like the YouTube thing. So I really, really love that. So part of the deal that I made with her was I'm getting a bit of a commission off of the sales, and then I have access to the collection, and within reason, I can bring stuff into my collection. So maybe we'll just start off with just a very, very quick look at some of the things that I found in the collection that have now moved their way into mine. Something that I've always wanted to have, the Batman Year One 4-issue miniseries. He actually had a couple of issues of #1, quite a few issues of it, #3 and #4. Hello, John DaCosta. Yeah, thanks, man. It's really nice. I don't know, man. Like, yeah, it'll really actually make me emotional. So maybe we'll just leave it. It's just really important to me. I think it's really, really important that it's one of the things that's difficult about this hobby, and some of the people that I know within the comics community in the city here, not that many, thankfully, but there are a couple who I've just heard not the greatest things about them when it's come to them trying to gain access to people's collections. And that really turns me off. I think that's a real shitty thing to do to somebody who's lost a family member or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's nice to be able to step in and kind of help out. Ra's al Ghul, the saga of Ra's al Ghul, so 3-issue series there. Really great. And this is kind of what I've been doing with the series for the sets. Just putting them in one bag, and they'll just go into long boxes. And I haven't priced them all yet. That'll be the next thing, just kind of firing through them and pricing them. I don't know, is this the first Batman Black and White series from June 1996? So 4 issues. I'm picking up the newest one. I had 1 or 2 of these issues quite a while back, but they kind of went with one of the purges. So now it's nice to have all 4 of them, because I never had all 4 of them. I think I had only numbers 1 and 4, if I remember correctly. And then there was a bunch of Vertigo stuff. So, I mean, I'm going to be grabbing some Vertigo stuff. This one I've seen, well, all of them I've pretty much heard of. Weird War Tales, so an anthology book. And in this one, you're getting names like Richard Corbin, Brian Azzarello. Who else do we have here? Peter Milligan, etc. So a 4-issue mini series there, Weird War Tales, which is really exciting. A nice surprise. Scene of the Crime by Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark. So this is a 4-issue miniseries as well. Hello, Scott Connor. Oh, yeah, so the Batman Black and White was the first. Yeah. And the couple issues that I remember, really, really great. So, and then I bought a few issues. I think I bought 4 issues just recently from a local in town, and then found this. And I didn't realize how long this one ran for. This is a series called Flinch, and I think it went like 16 issues. We'll find out in a second here. A horror anthology from Vertigo. So that was a really great, again, Bruce Jones, Richard Corbin, Jim Lee, Frank Quitely, and then so like 4 issues per bag here. So there's the first 4. and then 6 to 10. Very, very cool. I haven't sat and looked through stuff. My reading has really kind of come to a standstill over the weekend because it's been hitting it hard, having to tell myself to walk away from the comic collection and kind of going through things, which is difficult when it's sitting in your house. And also when the boxes are a bit musty smelling. Yeah, so 16 issues. So that's the final issue there, number 16. So that's really cool. Good anthology. Something from Caliber, The Hanged Man. It looked pretty interesting. Just a 2-issue series there. So give that a shot. Topps has kind of made it into my life, it feels like, lately. So this is Joe R. Lansdale, Timothy Truman, Rick Mager, The Lone Ranger, and Tonto breakup. And this is a 4-issue series. So that's cool. Looking very Scout-like. Tonto looking very much like Scout on that cover there. Some Daredevil stuff. The Man Without Fear, Frank Miller and John Romita. And then one that we have the collection. My son and I have a collected version of it, but so happy to find the Daredevil Yellow series. Very, very excited about this. That's very, very cool. And then finally for the sets, finally for this stack of sets, there's other sets too, but we won't go through all of them. A 2-issue Vampirella. So again, like the stuff that I've, for the most part, the stuff that I've zeroed in on is just stuff I'm interested in reading that aren't exactly pricey books. There was a number of kind of key issues and things like that, and I've started selling some of those off. And I have an auction up on eBay as well for another one. So some of the keys that have come through, this one being the big one, that's going to be for me. So, and then I'm toying around with possibly getting some more graded, not that this one is anything huge. Savage She-Hulk #1, another copy of Moon Knight #1, Spider-Woman #1. There was 2 issues of this one, 2 copies of it rather, sorry. So just a couple of those things that I kind of have off to the side for now. And then this one as well too that I came across today, digging through some Batman boxes. So that's pretty amazing. I've had a chance to kind of fill in a lot of gaps in the Batman animated Batman Adventures series. So that's been a lot of fun. So on to the books that I read this past week. This one I read last night after I walked away, or a couple of nights ago, actually, when I walked away from kind of sorting through and putting up auctions and stuff and collecting pay from people. The Adventures of Rocco Vargas, Triton by Daniel Torres. The art in this one was mind-blowing. It feels like a comic that our friend Paulo would maybe get a kick out of because of the... sorry, not Paulo, Gus would get a kick out of with all the clothing in here. I'd be curious to hear his thoughts. One of the things that impressed me the most about this book is how he captured movement. It just feels like there were some really nice touches, like this head turn, taking off the glasses, just with those couple of lines there. But, your mind kind of fills in that twist. I thought was really, really clever. There was a couple of other ones that stood out to me as well. The art, like I said, the art is just exceptional in this. Unfortunately, there's a couple of things that were, just because you make his servant green and say that he's an alien doesn't necessarily mean you ain't a fucking racist. So it was really, that kind of really got in the way. I was hoping at the beginning that it would just be something that you'd see for a couple of panels. And then the villains with their kind of Asian look and even their skin colored yellow was a little much. It just, it kind of just turns you off. So I don't know if there was any more of these This page was great for movement as well too. That car whipping through there. And then her taking focus. Her taking pot shots. Is that focusing? No, it's not focusing. Anyway, her taking pot shots. Fucking cameras, man. What are you going to do? Let me just find this one other little shot here. Anyway, yes, here we go. Those top 3 panels there, I love. Just his movement of his arm coming around to take some shots at the car as it's speeding away. Amazing. And it really feels like I haven't seen anything like this before as far as this type of movement in a comic. It's dynamic in a different way, and especially with all the elements like the wind and the snow coming through the panels as well too. Beautiful, beautiful book. Beautiful colors rather. But like I said, and the story itself was pretty decent for the most part. Not horrible. Wasn't the big drive in the story for me though. Definitely the art was the standout. So, and like I said, he did do another series, and I should have pulled it off the shelf because I can never remember the name of things. So pretty good. I won't talk about it too much because I think it's been talked about a lot, but I did pick up a copy of Carmen, the Manara cover there. And I loved it. I thought it was an incredible book. And again, something with the art in this one was exceptional. Anyway, I'm not going to pull it out. I'd rather talk about stuff that not everybody else on YouTube has talked about. I'm on board. I can't wait to see where this goes. I can't wait to see what happens. An amazing, amazing book. Russa was talking about how she just couldn't finish it because of the subject matter, which I completely understand. It's not exactly the most uplifting story in this first issue. I didn't read both of these. I did read volume 2 of Night Streets though, because I did want to get to the last couple of issues. So for a book that started out not really knowing what was going to happen, and you know, the art being even less polished than normal, which again, not a criticism, just another case of seeing an artist just get better through a run of a series. Super, super wordy. So coming from this and introduced to a lot of characters, coming to these kind of final 2 issues here that were never published in single issue format, only put into this collection, and everything comes to a head in it. Mr. Cat, Thelonious Cat, gets called out, and he has to go and meet with his enemies who are surely going to try to kill him. So he kind of shaves down his mane so he can get disguised, get into his disguise as a human to go for this meeting. I thought it was a really great way to wrap all the worlds up. We get our superhero character coming back in as well too. For some reason, I can't remember her name. I want to say like Night Thrasher or Night Hunter or something. I don't remember what the hell her name is. But this is a woman who is incredibly masculine looking. And clearly gets off on drawing her because she's always the most detailed drawings on the page. So super, super cool. We get a nice kind of bit of action to finish it up. And some of these pages, I loved the way that they flowed. I thought it was a really great way to do a 2-page spread and kind of get a lot of sections of the story out there in one go. So yeah, I mean, Jared's talked about it. I've talked about it. There's a couple of people on Twitter that have talked about it. It seems to be one of those gems from the 80s there. So the Caliber Press editions of those, if you can find them, you can get the whole story in those 2 volumes. Talked about it briefly on Sunday as well. And I mean, it's like getting a weekly comic. I'm trying to only read 1 issue a week. I'm going to try to wait until the end of this week to read the next issue of Young Master because I'm getting close to the end and I want it to last as long as humanly possible. But this was a phenomenal issue. So we start out kind of with the carnage as we do a kind of camera push into this temple here, which is a training facility and we're met with all of the carnage as we finally meet our two kind of heroes here. And then we go back in time to them walking in the snow and how they got to where they were. And look at this here of them walking in the snow. And the young master notices that the snowbanks on the path are strangely a different height. And of course, ninja. They come up and there's a big fight that ensues with some, again, beautiful artwork and beautiful motion there. As she stands by, he carves out a little flute for her, which then takes us through the rest of the story so she can keep occupied, our little blind girl, and she starts playing music. Yeah, that would be great, hey? That would be pretty interesting. Did I tell you this already, DaCosta? I sent a message to Val. Through his website, I sent him an email and said, hey man, I do a YouTube channel. I would love to talk to you about Young Master. I haven't heard anything back yet. I don't know, I'd rather not just keep bombarding him, but goddamn, it would be amazing to have him on and just have him talk about this book. And the creation of it, and when he was working on it. I figured I'd give it a shot in the dark, and see if I got anything. Nothing yet, so maybe the next step is buying some art from him and kind of getting his attention that way, because I would love to own some art from him. So a story of this temple of monks who are learning sword fighting. So at the beginning, we have a look at a weapon called the Bokken, Bokken, which is a wooden practice sword, and kind of the history of it there. And it's the main weapon that these monks... Oh, hello, Gorvidal. It's the main weapon that these monks use in their training. And they can use them to such a degree that they can break bones with them if they so choose to do so. They don't train with swords. Their religion forbids them from having a forbidden blade, is what they call it. So someone has come to kill them all and has brought in a forbidden blade into their dojo there, into their space. And I don't want to spoil it, but an exceptional ending. And then there's just another look at some more of the carnage. Every single issue of this really just hits home, and I just think it's really one of the better comics I think I've read in a long time. And I mean, that's saying a lot. I've read some really, really good shit, but this is just amazing. We also get to see some of Val's sketchbook pages in the back here as well, too. Just, I think, 4 pages of them. And then we get into the last, the short story at the back called Wind, which I have mixed feelings about. I'm not quite sure. It feels like it's one of those that I'm going to have to read again. I can't tell if it's a love letter to kind of the indigenous peoples and how they live off the land, or if it's a final nail in the coffin, so to speak, of a lost way. I don't know. It just read very strangely to me. Still beautiful, beautiful art, but it does feel like I'm going to have to go back and give it another chance. So Young Master, yeah, Val Merrick, exactly, Scott. So I'm going to have to try my best to take my time with the last. I think there's 4 issues to go. I think there, pardon me, I think there was 9 total. Honestly, when I repeat things like this, that means Hunted Down. And I know I've talked about that book a lot, but you'll continue to hear about it as I read each issue, because so far it has been absolutely stellar. I wish it went like 60 issues or 100 issues. I wish it was like a Lone Wolf and Cub. I'm not going to talk about these. I think, again, everybody's talked about more mainstream stuff. So I'm still slowly reading through the Defenders as well, too. None of these series I'm in any rush to go through. So I read 14 and 15, and they were just a lot of fun. A lot of great art. It's a great team. It's really enjoyable. Little slices of comics reading. So those were fun. The big kind of chunk of books that I read this week were all of these from DC. So Rasa had talked about this Phantom Stranger 4-issue miniseries. I managed to find the issues and started reading it. And halfway through the first issue, there's a reference to the Dr. Fate miniseries. So I managed to track that down. So I stopped reading Phantom Stranger because I wanted to track down Dr. Fate first. Even though it's just one brief mention of it, it just put me in the mood of kind of reading all the miniseries, because the other one I remembered from this time as well, because I had this back in the day as well, was this Demon 4-issue miniseries. I don't have them anymore. I've only been able to find number 1 of this Demon. So I started with Demon because I think that was the earliest. Oops, there's a Marvel Tales snuck in there. Another thing that I read this week as well too. A Marvel Tales with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, and that was a lot of fun as well too. So 87, yeah, so the Demon was January 1987, was issue 1. Dr. Fate issue 1 was July 1987, and then Phantom Stranger was first issue was October 1987. So I figured I'll read them in that order. The only two that seemed to tie in just a little bit were Dr. Fate and Phantom Stranger. So starting with the Demon, Matt Wagner, and Art Nichols inks him. Matt Wagner writes and does the pencils for it. I only have 2 issues of the original. Oh, nice there, DaCosta. I bought the Chaykin set of The Shadow this weekend for $3 at the warehouse. That's amazing. So I've only read 2 issues of the original Demon. So this is from what I understand, this is the second kind of series of the Demon. And for the first kind of, I don't know, half a dozen pages or so, there's a lot of text. There's a lot of kind of recapping how we got to this moment. And it was so much in this issue that I definitely need to read this one again before I read the next 3 issues, because I could not sit here and tell you exactly what was going to happen, what the premise of this book was, and what the premise of this mini series was. I honestly don't remember. It was a bit of a slog to get through this with all of the text. And again, no understanding of what's come before. This phone is blowing up down by my side here. But you do get some really great art. And again, I'm interested in it enough that I do want to kind of pursue it. I've always loved the kind of magical characters more than the others. That goes for Marvel as well as DC. I've talked about it before, the Spectre being one of my all-time favorites, and Deadman. Incredible stuff. So this sets up what's to come. The other thing that I found a bit challenging, so you had all of the text. I had forgotten the way the Demon speaks all kind of poetically. Once you kind of got into the rhythm, it was fine. But it just felt like in a comic that was already incredibly wordy, that when it came to him speaking the way that he does, it felt at that point like another hurdle to get over. And I don't want it to feel like that. And I just have a feeling that I need to give it another chance. And I'm completely willing to do so once I find the other issues. So that's that one. And then I dove right into Dr. Fate. So written by Matthias. Let's follow up here. Yeah, I'm not really sure either. I'll get to that comment in a second. Yeah, about the Chaykin. Oh, sorry, pushed the wrong one there. Did you know that Kirby based the look of the Demon from a panel in Foster's Prince Valiant? I had no idea. Alan Moore invention. Are you talking the Demon? No, the Demon was a Kirby. And then this is the one I was, why didn't they go with Baxter paper for the Demon and Phantom Stranger? Agreed, because that's what they use for this Dr. Fate. I kind of wish they would have chosen one way. I don't know which one I actually saying that. Now I'm not so sure which one I prefer. To be honest, their 64-page special. Nothing wrong with the Baxter paper, but I kind of like the newsprint. Anyway, so the Dr. Fate mini-series. James DeMatteis, Keith Giffen, illustrator, Dave Hunt, inker. Austin Maz, letterer, Anthony Tolan, colorist, Denny O'Neil, editor. Another character that I don't know very much about, but I really enjoyed this, and I do want to get more Dr. Fate, and I know that DeMatteis did the kind of next series. I don't know how many issues it went. This was a really fun read. You know, a lot of talk of like duality, a lot of talk of kind of masculine and feminine. He kind of, this Dr. Fate is kind of coming to his end. His body has been used up by the spirit that inhabits him for his battle, and the spirit who inhabits him, and I'm gonna not remember any of the names again, is kind of really changed over the years because of they talk about the kind of interaction with humanity and how that's affected him and his mission. And then there's talk of these different eras, cycles rather, sorry. All creation is divided into cycles. Some on Earth have called them yugas, the age of man. The first age is perfection, and then slowly chaos starts to trickle in. So I love the way this page here is broken down as chaos starts to trickle in. And they talk about the natural progression of life and cycle and kind of the world that things kind of start off perfectly. They need to go to chaos so everything can be destroyed, so it can start again, so that cycle can begin again. So there's almost this sense of like, we need to be here and help, but not too much, because it's just the natural way of things that this will come to an end. Chaos will kind of take over, and it needs to, in order for us to kind of relive again. So then it's the classic, you know, superhero story of what are we going to do as humans? We want to fight the entire time anyway, and we're really going to try to make things better. So you do get a couple of those tropes from superhero books into here, but I think it's tackled really well. Over the years, over these last couple of years, or maybe just the last year or so, I've read more DeMatteis stuff, and I really, really enjoy his writing quite a bit, actually. So then we're introduced to another character who is going to kind of pick up the mantle. I'm not going to go through the other 3 issues. I'll just kind of show you this one. And here we can see the spirit speaking through its host body, rather, through its stomach, or through his stomach, rather. And just kind of having this discussion with one another of what they're going to do. And then we get some more beautiful pages like this. I love those vertical panels a lot, and I love the color in this too. So this was a really great read. I did see a batch of the next series. I don't know if I want to get I'm sure that it came out in a trade format. I think I might try a trade instead of getting the single issues, because I think it was a pretty substantial run. So this was really fun. There was parts of this, that's what I was going to say too. There was parts of this where I couldn't help thinking of Ambush Bug, because this here, all of these panels really remind me of Ambush Bug. I was a huge fan of that series when I was a teenager. And this, the rhyming. Yes. Sorry, Brian Ewing. I really, it really reminds me of the Ambush Bug story. Some of that kind of absurd, and there's something about even that middle panel there, the close up of the eye, that's very much like that Ambush Bug series. So really fun mini series. I enjoyed the hell out of that. Yeah, and his art really is a draw as well. I think they work really well together. You know, I'll take Ambush Bug over absolutely, yes, Ambush Bug over Deadpool. I've started missing those issues, those Ambush Bug issues, over the last kind of 6 to 8 months. I've picked up 1 or 2. They're on the shelf there. When I see them, I'm gonna pick up the rest. I would like to get the rest of them. So just to kind of, and then here we have just the other covers. I'll just show you the other covers. Issue number 2 there, number 3, and then the final issue. Really, really cool read, man. And then finally, for this kind of trilogy of reading, we have The Phantom Stranger, another 4-issue. So we'll open this up. Again, maybe I'll just show you the first issue. We won't necessarily go through the whole thing. This, and I think Ross has said the same thing too. This started off pretty strong. There we go. So Paul Cooperberg, Mike Mignola, artist, P. Craig Russell, inker, Scotes, colorist, etc. It started off strong. The first 2 issues I enjoyed. Eclipso is the kind of main protagonist in here, and Eclipso just isn't that interesting of a character. And it kind of takes it off. I don't know, man. The last couple of issues I just thought I guess they were really 80s. I mean, we even get Reagan in there, and we get kind of the Cold War, and we get a fight with Russia, and it just seems, growing up in the 80s when I was listening to thrash metal, and these bands like Sacred Reich and Sacrifice and Nuclear Assault, and even that kind of Reagan and DRI with like Reaganomics, that seemed to be just it was all over. It was all over at that time. So this is just a reminder of what was going on then with kind of like art, comics, music, that sort of thing. But the first couple of issues I thought were really cool. Again, it's this big evil that he's fighting. And it kind of shows itself as it goes. Yeah, Surf Nicaragua. Exactly, man. So there was the panel right here that said, see Dr. Fate, because it does make a quick reference to it. So when I first read this, I read this first issue and then stopped so I could hunt down the other ones of the Dr. Fate series. But it's incredible art. Mignola and P. Craig Russell together is a gorgeous fucking thing. And it's really neat how you can pick out. I may have mentioned this when I looked at this earlier. To me, like that's a Mignola kind of face there. And there was a couple, no way, man, Nuclear Assault. I'll hit that note in a sec there, Scott. Let me finish my thought here. We can talk Nuclear Assault, my friend. And then some stuff that was really P. Craig Russell, So, and again, then we get the Eclipso, which definitely eclipses the rest of the comic. And I know that at this time he was big, and I think, John, you showed off a copy of the Eclipso book. I had that same book with the plastic kind of gemstone embedded in the cover of it. So the first couple of issues, a lot of fun. I thought it was a pretty weak ending. I wasn't really interested in it. So Nuclear Assault were one of those bands. Like when I was a teenager, there was a couple of different high schools you could go to. I went to the more technical high school where it was auto body and it was like trades, basically. I couldn't go to the other one. That's not where my head was at. I was smoking too much dope. I was not paying attention in school. So I went to the trades. I did make it through. I got booted out and went to work. But during that time that I was there, there was a lot of my friends while I was in this graphic arts program. There was a couple of people who were big into thrash like me as well. So we would trade tapes all the time. And when I heard Nuclear Assault, I was sold. Just like the first time I heard DRI, I was completely sold. I loved the faster stuff. So on Nuclear Assault, one of the things that really drew me to them was the song Hang the Pope, which was phenomenal. And to this day, it's still phenomenal. So Dan Lilker was the bass player, and he wrote that song. And I think he sung on that track too, possibly. Cut to kind of years later, I'm getting into more extreme metal. I'm getting into grindcore. I'm getting into all sorts of things, but staying on the metal path, I'm getting into grindcore, which was even faster. And the whole point of it was kind of a natural progression of thrash music mixed with punk rock kind of ethos, very political. Some bands very political, some just completely absurd, and then various genres beyond that. But Dan Lilker, yeah, he played with Anthrax. So Dan Lilker was also in a band called Brutal Truth, which were kind of the top tier for grindcore bands. So I went to see Napalm Death, and Brutal Truth opened up for them, and it was their first tape had come out. And I met Dan Lilliker basically in the bar and sat and had a beer with him and talked to him for a bit before they went on stage. Like, holy fuck, I didn't know you were still playing. And he's like, yeah, we're doing this grind band, blah, blah, blah. And we just kind of had a chat, like nothing super extensive, but it was definitely a T Fuller nerd moment where I completely was like, you guys were the best. I love Nuclear Assault. I fucking listen to you guys all the time and da 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 da, and just kind of, tried not to be too much of a fanboy, which I don't know if it worked. But it was very, very cool. And then seeing Brutal Truth play live, fuck me, it was so good. Like, they were so good. They were such a good band. And I saw them a couple of times over their career. They came back a couple of times. One of the last times or maybe it was the last time they came back, there was a little record store here called War on Music, and they had a venue downstairs in a coffee shop where they had some live shows. So the drummer for Brutal Truth, and I'm blanking on his name, he also did, so all of them did kind of noise stuff too. So this drummer did a kind of performance art piece down in there, and we went to see them. And then after the gig, Brutal Truth came back to that place. I don't know if they played because I didn't have a chance to see it, but they hung out till all hours of the morning, drinking and getting high with people, and I think putting on another free little show in the basement of this record shop. And that's kind of just the kind of guys that they were, right? But it was just amazing to see a guy like Dan Lilliker just still existing and kind of continuing on with his career. And if any of that interests you, Scott, you should really look for a documentary called hold on, I'm turning this around so I can see this ticker. It's called Slave to the Grind is what the documentary is called, done by some guys out of Toronto. And there's a whole bunch of interviews with a whole bunch of great grind bands, but not Nuclear Assault, sorry. Brutal Truth has a big part in there, and they interview Lilliker talking about that kind of era. So anyway, that's the metal nerd talking. We can go on, trust me, but we'll leave it at that point. So two of the other ones that I read this week, which I won't talk about too much, might be Scott. I don't know who did it, but I'm pretty sure they're based out of Toronto. Check it out. I don't know if that style of music is interesting to you at all. I know that grind is definitely an acquired taste. It's not for everybody, and I totally understand that. I won't talk about these too much, but I read a couple of Savage Sword of Conan. So a week ago, Damien and I had been talking about this, and he has a bunch of these issues, so he thought it would be great to kind of read a couple of issues together. Unfortunately, I couldn't stick around long enough to get to it, so I do want to wait to talk about these with him. So we just picked out two issues that we both had and read. And the only thing that I will say is the first one, I don't remember even which the first one was that we read. It might have been this one that we read first. I don't remember. There was one of them that was really, really, it was really bad. It didn't work. The story wasn't good. It was really just not interesting whatsoever. And especially after having such a strong start with this that I did last time. Again, we get some, I think this is Merrick in here. I think this is Val in here as well too. Yeah, Michael Fleischer and art by Val Merrick. And even Damien was saying that once Michael Fleischer started coming in and writing more Conan, he remembers that was about the time he started to drop off because Fleischer's writing wasn't something that resonated with him too much. But it was a very stark contrast from the previous Conan that I read that I absolutely loved. One of these issues was not very good, and the other one was a little bit better, but still not mind-blowing. But like I said, I'm going to wait to talk about those with Damien, so we'll get a chance to talk about those in a couple of weeks, and I'll show more of that. The other thing that I didn't show that I found in the bins, that probably one of the comics, again, not an expensive comic by any stretch, which boggles my mind, but one of the things that I found in the boxes that I've been looking for a little while was this one, this DC Talent Showcase. And this one is issue number 19. And it's important to me because it is Darwyn Cooke's first DC Comics work. And a little silent strip called The Private Eye, 10 Thou in Small Bills, or Girl Dies. And it's incredible. No, I haven't, Gore. And I see them all over the place. Like when I go to kind of Value Villages and Salvation Armies and stuff, I see the paperbacks everywhere. So I may have to dig into some of those. But this, I'm so over the moon having this comic in my hands. Darwyn Cooke is easily one of my absolute favorite artists going, and to have his first DC work in my hands is just really, really, really great. And you can see kind of like that woman's face there. There's a lot of Bruce Timm influence in that, and even down here too. Darwyn and Bruce Timm's styles did kind of merge anyway. They just have similar aesthetics, and it's interesting looking through this because it's not quite, there's absolutely no mistake that this is Darwyn Cooke, but it's not the Darwyn Cooke that we would see later on. So it feels like this is kind of the early, and then he goes to work in animation where he really polishes up his chops, really streamlines things. That studio would have had a very house style, of course, because if you've seen any of those animated series, they do tend to all have a very, very striking style. And then Cooke kind of moves into the style that we then know him from, like a New Frontier, etc. But and it's only, that's only what, like a 2, 3, 4, 5, only a 5-page story, and that's it. But it's just gorgeous, man. It is so amazing. I haven't even looked through the rest of the issue. I've looked at that story I don't know how many times now, but I haven't looked at anything else. It does make me curious. Oh, it looks like there's another silent story right after it. It does make me curious about this DC Talent Showcase, though, just to see what else is out there and see who else made appearances in here. I'm guessing that some of the people, excuse me while I itch my ball sack. I'm guessing that a bunch of the people in this never made it past this talent showcase. Oh, wow. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, it looks good, but it's all about the Darwyn Cooke. So I'll show that cover again, and maybe I'll make this the graphic for this video. There we go. Hopefully it's caught that. So DC Talent Showcase, if you can find this, like I said, issue number 19. Even when I was looking for it online just to kind of get a sense of it, I saw that there was a lot of copies out there that were very, very reasonably priced. It didn't seem to be one of those that was, in the back of my head when I found out what this book was through the Kayfabe channel. I thought for sure it would be something that was going to be like $100, whatever, but I was looking and it's just something that I couldn't find locally, which again surprised me because I figured the bins would be filled with DC Talent Showcase. Who the hell is buying these? But clearly, well, maybe not clearly, but I'm guessing maybe this is like a hidden gem kind of series because I haven't seen very many issues in my usual spots that I go to in town, which is very unusual for me to not really find any of them. So it makes me suspicious about what is contained within those other issues. I haven't done any research about the series whatsoever. So, but that's the one. So number 19 from October of 1985. What else do I got to show? Oh, maybe I'll quickly talk about this. We won't show too much of it, but I've been a fan of Robin Bougie forever. And Cinema Sewer is this is issue number 34. He's a Canadian as well, lives in Vancouver. This is his final issue. Cinema Sewer has come to an end after, 20 plus years. I don't even know when it started. Maybe it says on the inside. So Cinema Sewer, I was reading, I got introduced to, back when I lived in Ontario. No, he doesn't say here. I thought he would say in the introduction. There's not much in here that I can show even for my channel, but it's filled with comic strips, and then it's also filled with articles on all sorts of movies, but very, very specifically focusing on pornos and hardcore movies, but not exclusively. There's a bunch of earlier issues too that they talk about. They talk about exploitation theater. One of the features that he was doing here in some of these later issues, he was focusing on. Here we go. He was focusing on old grindhouse theaters. So this is a little focus on the World Theater in New York City with an illustration of it, and then a little bit of the history of that theater itself. So he has a real love for that era of cinema and that style of cinema, because it's a lot of stuff from the 70s. He doesn't talk much about kind of modern day porno or anything. But and I mean, you know, again, not only that, you know, then there's the Golden Child, and he'll have guest artists and guest writers come on and do things. So he used to publish it multiple times a year, but these last, I don't know, 6 issues or something, I don't remember how much, it became a yearly comic. It's super thick, you know, that's like easily 64 pages or something. So he works on it over the course of a year, and then it comes out in usually around February. I'm just looking for anything else I could potentially show you here. But like I said, there's not a much. It's a dirty comic. Oh, here we go. I can show you something there. Mike Sullivan's What If, an alternate timeline of cinema sewer history from a disreputable historian. So great. I love Robin Bougie. I love Cinema Sewer. When I first got introduced to it, I remember, I think one of the first issues that I ever saw was he had a feature on one of my all-time favorite Japanese films, Female Convict Scorpion, Jailhouse 41. Female Convict Scorpion was the series. There was 4 movies in the 70s. Even Tarantino ripped off that movie a little bit, and because Miko Kaji is the main actress in it. She also was Lady Snowblood. Lady Snowblood kind of made an appearance in the Kill Bill series, and then he used some music from Female Convict Scorpion as well in the Kill Bill movies as well. And it's that kind of sold me on Bougie as a writer and a film guy, and he's done a bunch of other things as well too, a lot of jam comics, but they're all very, very adult, extremely adult, shockingly adult. And yes, I did watch The Deuce on HBO, and I fucking loved it. That era of film, I mean, you know, again, we could talk about it for a long time. 70s and exploitation movies and stuff. That's deep in my soul there, my friends. I love that stuff. And as much as sometimes I feel like I have to come to terms with that love of that genre, especially now working in film and understanding what absolutely dangerous and sketchy situations these motherfuckers were putting people in to make their movies. I think about now when I go to visit sets, when we have a director that comes in where things are getting a little crazy, and I just look at them with such disgust, because it's like, you're just making a fucking movie. But then I go home and I watch some of these movies that I've watched throughout my life, and they're way more dangerous than anything that's happening now. Let's see what I've missed here. Let's see. Excuse me while I dash over to eBay. How did that go? Did you find a copy? I feel like hunting those down now and having a flip through. Yeah, I really feel like I want to find some more of them. We have our first. So the restrictions in town have loosened up. So we're now allowed to kind of have gatherings of up to 10 people if we're outside. After Easter, they're talking about bringing us back to Code Orange. There's restaurants that are opened up. There's a mini convention that's happening April 11th. There still are some restrictions, but we're allowed to do these kind of gatherings. So I'm going to see if I go or not. I haven't 100% decided if I want to go, because I have a feeling it's going to be just chaos there. And if they have a system where they're only letting a certain amount of people in the building at once, which is the way that I understand it to be, I just have a feeling there's going to be a huge line to get in. And I know classically comic conventions, even the small ones, you're shoulder to shoulder. So I'm not 100% certain. I feel totally comfortable going. I may go. That urge, that overwhelming comic urge might win out. I'm sorry, Gore. Yes, everything is in Canada. I'm sorry. You guys really just need to get your shit together down there. I've been looking at my copies of DC Who's Who, and I'm blown away from all these 90s Image rock stars drawing. Oh wow, DC Fringe characters. See, that's another. I know the series, but I don't have a single issue of that. Oh, dude, yeah. Canon Films deserves its own streaming service like Netflix. Absolutely. Where am I going? I'm still looking for a Marvel's pulled issue. What if Elektra had joined the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders instead of the Hand? But are you serious? Is that really a thing, Gore? I get the feeling that a lot of comics fans also like similar movies and music. I have a feeling, yeah. Yes, I absolutely have. And I fucking loved that series, Brian. That series, I've got every single issue. It was one of those that as soon as I started reading it, I was hooked, and I love it. And I know that we only got a small portion of that series of Kamui. I'm never sure how to say it. I know that we only got a small portion of it translated into English, and it goes on forever. And I also know that Eclipse series was published out of order, but man, it is an absolute phenomenal tale. There are talks of another lockdown here in April. Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing, and this is also where it gets a little kind of a pain in the ass for me, John, because I don't understand how in Manitoba we've managed to open up as much as we have. Our numbers have fucking skyrocketed. And I think it's the same across Canada and other parts of the world. That first lockdown wasn't nearly long enough because they're a bunch of fucking pussies and they can't make up their goddamn minds and they can't lead people to save their fucking lives. I hate people that are elected officials, people in leadership positions who don't have fucking leadership skills. Drives me fucking nuts. It's your fucking job. Figure it out. Anyway, I won't swear for like a half an hour, but it drives me fucking mental. It's gonna feel weird not going to Heroes Con 2 years in a row, and that's the thing. Like, I absolutely miss. Oh, you son of a bitch, Gore! I absolutely miss going to cons. In my alternate universe, Terrence, Elektra has turned the cheerleaders into pom-pom wielding ninjas. Amazing. That would be great. I don't play video games. I'm not a big video game person. I'm not very good at them, and I get mad, and then I come to a realization that I'm mad at a piece of technology, and then I just feel like an idiot. So I just don't play video games. They just frustrate me too much, and I can't live with myself throwing remote controls around the room like I did when I was a teenager. I think that's it. There's a stack of Conan there. There's those up there. I think that's all. I haven't read those yet. That was way longer than I intended it to be. Thank you very much, everybody. Here in Texas, after the governor said Texas is open for business, gave license for people to flaunt not wearing a mask. Yeah. And I mean, I've been following just a little bit of what's going on in Florida with the fucking spring breakers. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Sometimes it's very difficult. I feel like I'm mostly an optimistic person. And sometimes I feel like I'm overly optimistic because I have such a deep sense of pessimism that I try to balance it out the other way. But it doesn't bode well for us as a whole. So maybe the Dr. Fate story was true. We're entering this chaos and there's really probably no turning back. We need to go full cycle. We need to start right back over again. Yeah. Well, and that's the problem. And again, it's something that if anybody had any sense to look at other parts of the world as it kind of moved across the map, we would see that mistakes that they made that they shouldn't have done, we didn't learn from it. forget about learning from 100-year history of the last time we had a fucking pandemic and we're still doing the same things that they did then, that we don't even learn what's happening on the other side of the globe from us before we just keep making the same mistakes. It's like, I don't know, man. And it just makes me think about our whole consumerist culture and capitalist society. And it makes me think of all of that kind of stuff and how absolutely detrimental. Noam Chomsky has said that the Republican Party is the I can't remember his exact words, is the greatest threat to humanity that there's ever been. I mean, and Noam Chomsky isn't always a guy that's known to be hyperbolic, even though he's very wordy, and a lot of what he said goes way over my head. That really stuck with me, that the greatest threat to our world that we've ever seen on the face of this globe. And some days I wake up going, he's 100% fucking right. He's absolutely right. They are going to kill us all. So on that happy note, thanks very much for hanging out, everybody. I really appreciate it. It's always good to see you guys. I missed Sunday. I apologize for those of you that were there on Sunday. I felt like I wasn't focused whatsoever, and I felt like it was a little bit of not the coolest thing to do. I wasn't in the moment there. So Scott, thanks for hanging out. Gore, John DaCosta, Brian Ewing. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody as I'm flipping back here. Apologies if I missed you. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night. A greater threat than... We're going to leave it right there. Good night.